Thinking about joining the union because you think it will help you get more jobs? Well, let's talk. Because what actually happens when you join the union might be different than you expect. In this video, I'll break down equity versus non-union life, the pros and the cons, and whether joining the union will actually increase your opportunities or make things harder. If we haven't met yet, I'm Ashley Espinosa, a musical theater actress, career coach, and mentor, and I have been exactly where you are. Let's get into it. One of the biggest pros of being equity, which I'm sure you're aware of, is the access to auditions. Now, what this allows you to do once you join the union is you get access to the EPAs, the ECC signups on the online portal. You also get access to the tape submissions when those are available on the portal if you sign up and get an appointment. And you also have access to all of the information regarding auditions so that you do not have to scroll through all of the other places that we typically do as non-union performers. So Playbill, Broadway World, Backstage, Facebook, all of the places that you scroll to find auditions because you can't see them behind the union online sign-in portal that you have to be a member to get access to. If we're talking about a Broadway production, Broadway national tour, a regional theater production, then of course all of those are going to be union contracts. So you would have the opportunity to know that you would be seen for any role all the way from the lead to all the way down to the ensemble in an equity full house production. Another pro of equity is that it does give you some professional credibility in the industry. So when you show up to an audition and you say, hey, I'm equity, I'd like to be seen, you bump to the top of the list rather than anybody that is non-union, or as long as this video is still out there, EMC is about to phase out, but if you are EMC, you are above non-union, but you're above all of those as an equity member. So you get the rights and privileges that come with being a part of the union. Having that credibility can give you a sense of confidence, a sense of professionalism, an air of, I feel like I am worthy to be here. And that can affect not just what happens in the room, but also how you live your life day to day as a musical theater performer in an industry that is very unrelenting, unreliable, and challenging on the day-to-day life scale. Being union also helps you have jobs that are going to pay you a livable wage, or at least what we would consider a livable wage, rather than what we typically get paid as a non-union performer. The pay level on an equity job is going to be higher than anything that you have as a non-union performer. Now, there are some exceptions to the rule, especially for a lot of these non-union tours that we're seeing roll out, but typically your pay is going to be better. Let's talk about some of the cons of joining equity. Auditioning is not easier. This is a really big misconception and something that I'm seeing on the ground in New York City. LA is very different. If you're in a bubble city, I call them bubble cities like Atlanta or Chicago or Northern California or Southern California, these cities that are very small and compact, then it's going to look a little bit different for you. But auditioning in New York City does not get easier once you join the union. And what most people don't understand is that, yes, you have the ability to go online and sign up. But most of the time, getting an audition slot is never going to be guaranteed. It is a mad rush to get an appointment. Right now, every time I want to get an appointment for an ECC or an EPA or a tape submission, typically my rate is about 50-50. Now, there's no factual number or data on this. As soon as you get in that virtual holding room to sign up for the EPAs and ECCs that are being signed up for that day, which is typically 7 days out, it's going to auto put everybody in a virtual line. Doesn't matter how soon you got in that line or how many years you've been in equity. The system doesn't care about that. So getting an appointment, you can be waiting a really long time in that line to even sign up virtually and then never even get an appointment. And I know so many performers, both performers on a very heavy Broadway resume experience and performers that have very little regional theater, if not any, that have just joined the union recently, are having the same challenges getting seen at auditions. When you join the union, another con is that you are going to have less opportunities because there are less union contracts available across the board. Any regional theater that you're going to see, especially during audition season, they're only going to have a limited number of equity contracts across the board per show. They're not going to tell you how many there are, but there may only be 2 equity contracts for that entire show, and everybody else is going to be non-union. Now, you may be sitting next to someone that has 10 Broadway credits for a regional theater job. And sometimes you just cannot compete with someone's experience and resume when you decide to join the union at a very beginning of your career. And I know that's harsh to hear, but it is literally it's just the truth. Doesn't mean they're better than you. It just means they have a larger resume to back them up. When you join the union, you can no longer work non-union jobs. So you cannot go to your local community theater. You can't go to your local theater that you've worked at for a very long time and say, I'm equity now, hire me with a union contract. Most of the time, they just can't afford it, especially now with how the industry is starting to be challenged with what is going on in the world. And it's very difficult to even see a theater have more than 2 to 4 contracts per show. Now, there are many regional theaters out there that hire full non-union. Those are very few and far between, but they are out there. But in general, your opportunities are going to be much less as an equity performer because there are actually just less contracts out there for equity performers. But keep in mind now that you are going to have more competition once you join the union. And I know this is something that's very uncomfortable for people to talk about, but in any industry, you have people that have much greater experience than people that are just starting out in this career, or people that are just even coming back into this career, or starting from scratch for whatever reason. And that's okay. But just keep in mind that you are going to be sitting next to people in the audition line, which has happened to me multiple times this season, with like 6 Broadway credits. I don't have a Broadway credit just yet. And that's okay. I'm okay with that. But I know that I have to bring to the table everything that I can in that room because that is the most important factor, first and foremost. But having an experienced resume that says, I know how this job functions, I am going to show up, I am going to be prepared, that does speak volumes. And it does mean that if you join the union too early and you don't have any type of reputation or any networks or connections set up with casting in your area, then it may be a bit more challenging. A lot of actors, after they join the union, do struggle to get work. And I know a lot of people are going to experience that with the recent opportunity of open access where anybody can join. And I did a whole video about joining the union and open access, how to do it. I'm going to link it down in the cards in the description box below if you want to check that out, and I'll walk you through it step by step on how to actually join the union with open access. But after you are non-union for a very, very long time and you have a good amount of work, if you join the union and you take your card on your own without getting an equity job, you have to understand and just know and be aware that you could not work for months or even years because you're putting yourself in a different pool of performers and a different pool of job opportunities. Let's talk about the pros of being non-union. Summer stock, theme parks, cruise ships, all of these jobs give you the ability to earn income as a performer, to gain experience, to travel, and a lot of those opportunities are not going to be available to you once you join the union. The competition pool in non-union work is going to be a little bit different than being union. Now, I want to be very clear here. Being union does not mean professional, and being non-union does not mean non-professional. That's something that's a big misconception in this industry. There are people that stay non-union their entire career and love the work they get to do and love the work that they're at because of the location that they're in based on their lifestyle. And there's nothing wrong with that. The biggest mistake that you can make is saying, I must be union to be considered a professional. Don't do that. Don't go down that rabbit hole. Because another pro of being non-union is that you can audition for both union and non-union work. I know that a lot of times you think, oh, I'm non-union, they're never going to consider me for a union Broadway national tour or a union theater. But that's absolutely incorrect. Why wouldn't they consider you? You can always take your card for a production like that. You can always work a non-union contract in many of these regional theater productions. And most of the time, you're just going to have a better opportunity to cast a wider net as a non-union person to make money as a performer in this industry. That flexibility can really be exciting for people, especially if you're not stuck in one location. If you are in LA or Southern California or Atlanta or Chicago or Northern California or anywhere else that you are in the world, being non-union gives you more opportunities and more flexibility to build a career where you are right now into what works best for you. And that's what truly matters. Building a career that makes you feel successful, that gives you the opportunity to have the chapter of your life and your career that is best for you at this very moment. Another pro of being non-union is that you can build up your resume, which is really exciting. You could work leading roles at these non-union theaters because they're not able to have an equity contract, or maybe they just have 1 or 2 equity contracts. Because you're so talented and you're still non-union, you might be able to work more. So it's really about deciding when is the right time for you to go union versus non-union. But there are cons to being non-union. You are going to have typically a lower rate and little to no benefits other than what is going to be put into that non-union contract. You might not be working a livable wage. You might not have any support if some type of protection that you need on the job happens. You do not get access to healthcare and pension. So you are going to have to be very diligent in setting up healthcare for yourself, in setting up retirement for yourself as a non-union person. Another con of being non-union is that there are no guarantees, absolutely none. When I was non-union, one of the first couple of big contracts that I got, the show was canceled and it didn't happen. And then another contract I got, one of the first offers that I had for a cruise ship, I got an offer and then they changed directors and they recast the whole show. And it can be devastating, but that's just the way that it works. That is the non-union industry, and you have to be able to take the good with the bad. Being non-union will mean that accessing union auditions is extremely challenging. I know that you're signing up for the non-union online list and they're getting torn up when you go into an EP and ECC. And that's because they're not supposed to accept that at union auditions. So figure out what is going to be the best path for you as a non-union performer so that, you're not wasting your frustration and your energy and your time. But don't forget that every audition is an opportunity. And to get those auditions, you are going to have to hustle. That's what we've all done as a non-union performer. It doesn't matter what age you are. I have clients that are non-union that are in their 40s and 50s and 60s. And then I have clients that are in their 20s and 30s that are equity. So age really isn't a factor here. It is experience and the opportunity that comes along that is right for you. Because if an opportunity comes along and you get cast in an equity production and you're going to take your card, then of course you're going to take it. But sometimes our careers function a little bit unconventionally and differently. We have to know that we're making the right decision for ourselves based on the information provided. So what is going to be right for you? Here are my tips and tricks of whether or not it's time for you to join the union or stay non-union. The first question I would ask you if we were in a coaching session is, what type of work do you want to be doing right now? Also, where are you living right now? You don't have to live in New York City if you're wanting to do Broadway, major regional theater work, cruise ship work, theme park work, but it is extremely beneficial and helpful. Whether you're in New York City or not, that's going to be a major factor of whether you should join the union. What are your experience levels? That's another question that I would ask you and I want you to really think about. Do you have a resume that if you look at it right now, free from judgment, as if you didn't even know yourself, does it look like you have professional experience in this industry? Do you have training? Do you have credits on your resume that showcase the type of work that you want to be doing right now, not work that you did, 30 years ago? If you're coming back into this industry, it may take a little bit of time for you to get a couple of credits on your resume that showcase the work that you want to be doing right now and the roles you want to be playing and the stories you want to be telling. Because you do need to be honest and remind yourself that if you go into an ECC dance call, you are going to be next to people that have been doing this for a very, very, very long long time. So it's not good or bad. It's not really talent versus untalented. It is skill level. And are you ready to say, I am going to take my card, and that I know that I can stand next to someone in this industry and feel really confident with the work that I'm putting out there? Another question I would ask you if we were doing a coaching session is, what is your financial situation? If you are relying on non-union jobs to kind of help pay your bills along with your supporting jobs, then you need to know that once you join the union, a lot of that could shift and change. You also need to know that joining the union could mean no jobs for quite some time until you figure out where you fit in the industry, or you're able to get an agent, or you are able to get casting to start to know you, or to figure out your audition book now, the songs you want to sing, the roles you want to play, where you fit in the industry as it stands, really good headshots that focus on the work that you want to be doing right now to tell casting your story of where you fit in the industry. So you need to be emotionally ready to say, it is okay if I don't book anything this year or next year. Joining the union is something really important to me, and I'm ready to put myself in that level. What is your career strategy right now in this chapter of your career? Is your strategy going to be, it is either Broadway national tours, union contracts, or nothing for me right now? I'm to that point in my career where that's kind of the only work I want to be doing because I've done everything else, or I've done other parts of the industry that's just, I'm not interested in that work anymore. And I'm okay with knowing that the flip side of this may mean I may not book something for a months, or even years until the right role comes along for me at this stage in my career. If you're trying to, build momentum right now and get experience and get training and build your resume and figure out kind of where you fit in the industry as it stands right now, because it has shifted so much, then it might not be the right time for you. But if you're someone that's like, I have a lot in my life going on, I am very stable with my support jobs, I have other interests and things that I'm doing, whether that's on camera work, other support jobs that you do, other types of interests that you have, then it may be time for you to join the union. If you're ready to say, I want to be able to have an appointment, to show up, do my thing, and leave. And if you're finding that what you're doing in the room is not landing, or you're struggling with like a pop rock song for some of these shows, or you don't have a pop rock song, then I want you to download my audition book blueprint. I'll put it in the description box below. It's a 20+ page, totally free PDF that walks you through the different types of styles that we're seeing in musical theater now, and options and songs, and even radio tunes and artists that might be inspiring to you for certain types of categories. My biggest advice for you, if you're deciding between going union and non-union, is to not rush into this decision. Don't let this decision be an emotional investment, because so many people are making the mistake of saying, I want to feel like a professional and I want people to view me as a professional. You don't need an equity card to do that. And I know that is really frustrating to think about, but you have to put yourself and your career and your strategy to work. And you have to know that the most important thing is that you are proud of the work you're doing and that you feel successful, rather than trying to prove to other people that you're a professional just by slapping on your resume at the very top that you are AEA. And if it's that point in your career where you are like, I am AEA, I am putting it at the top, that is what I'm doing, I have thought through this, then go for it. It's got to be the right career and the right move for your personal goals, because you can thrive as a non-union actor in this industry just as much as you can thrive as an equity actor in this industry. Two sides of the coin. There's not one right or wrong. You have to decide what is the right step and decision for you in this part of your career. I want you to check out this video next. It's going to walk you through how to actually join the union, the options you have, and more food for thought after having this conversation. I'll see you in that video.